Yeah. We should hire him as a wedding singer.
Join our incredible moms who have mastered the art of balancing motherhood in today's episode of We Time Convo.
My name is Debbie.
This is Liza.
Moms sharing inspiring stories, practical tips, and a few hilarious anecdotes. And it all begins now.
Thank you for listening to We Time Convo. Unfortunately, Debbie is MIA today. She's missing in action, so I do have a guest co-host with me, Lana.
Hi.
And if you recognize her voice or recognize her, she was in our Thanksgiving episode and our Raising Boys episode. She was our guest. So thank you for being my partner in crime today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And then we also have two return guests. We have Jeremy Lazo Jr. here. He was in our episode 10. He's also the author of two kids' books, The Declaration of Daughterhood and Daughterhood, A Beautiful Chaos. He has a daughter, Bella Sky, who is 3, who is the main character of the books, right?
She is.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me back here. We Time Convo, always a privilege.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And then I also have Frank here, who was in episode 11 at our Stay at Home Dads episode. He has 2 girls. Franklin is 5 and Jesselyn is 1.5.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, you guys. So our topic today we're going to be discussing dad's fears with raising daughters because, Jeremy, you have a little girl. You're a girl dad, and so are you, Frank.
I got 2 little ones.
Yeah, so...
I got 1 little one.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? Let's start with an update. Any updates since our last recording, Jeremy? Any plans for a new book? How is your book doing?
Daughterhood, Beautiful Chaos is actually gaining traction. It's been already out for 5 to 6 months. It's funny how it seems because it was promoted in the beginning and I was trying to push it, but now it's just barely kind of getting there and getting those sales done. But I'm glad to say that it's sales-wise, it's surpassing the first book.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Still trying to get a San Jose Eastside bestseller, so we'll see how that comes along.
Yeah,
We're
and
rooting for you.
You guys don't
Thank
know,
you.
it's a beautiful book. My little one loves Daughterhood, A Beautiful Chaos, which is, she still reads it. Like I said, she's a big fan. And I've actually had a couple of coworkers who are big fans of the podcast actually purchase the book and they're not even parents.
Oh,
wow.
cute.
From the podcast.
They're
Yeah.
prepping.
So,
Wow.
They're prepping, man.
Shout out to
yeah.
you.
Yeah. So they love it and they're like, oh my God, it's such a good book. So if you guys haven't gotten a chance to get your copy, where is it available? I think Amazon, right?
Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, really, really good book. And Frank, what's been going on with you? What's the big update since we've recorded?
Big updates. I mean, well, Jesselyn's doing well in preschool now. A couple of incidences over
So
there.
you're not a stay-at-home dad anymore.
Kind of. Like, I still drop off Franklin in the morning.
Oh, so
and I
you're
pick
still
her up.
battling childhood obesity by walking your kids?
Every opportunity. We're walking to school every day.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
we're walking to school every day. And then, I pick her up in the afternoons because she doesn't want to walk back. But anyway.
Aw. How far is the walk?
It's a good, I'd say 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not super far, but it's not super close.
Yeah.
So it's a middle.
She's probably tired by the end of the day too, right?
Yeah, but I just wanted to I want her to just go out, enjoy the sun outside, outdoors, get off the screen sucking stuff and just like enjoy and walk.
Yeah. No, true.
A lot of kids, I don't see a lot of kids doing that nowadays. And obviously, obesity pandemic, whatever you want to call it, epidemic.
So is life easier now with just at school?
It is a little bit easier. I mean, I'm used to the schedule now. I have a set schedule where I drop her off and pick her up every day, and then now Jessica goes and takes care of Jesselyn for preschool because she goes to preschool where she works. So
Nice.
yeah.
All right. Dads, your fears on raising girls. I guess, do you want to go first, Jeremy? What's one of your biggest fears?
So our family believes in faith over fear. There's a prayer that my wife and I kind of say for Bella, and there's a part that says, "We do not ask you, God, for an insulated world for our children, for in this kind of world, they will not grow, nor do we ask you to preserve them from all mistakes. For by some of these are they truly made wiser, but only from such that will destroy them, perhaps beyond repair, with one sure blow." So my deepest worry is not being there or doing my share to kind of shield her from such a fall. And so being a dad of a little girl and knowing that you can't always be there to shield them is kind of, and especially in a cold world, I'm just going to say it flat out, that it could be too much mentally. So, but with our faith, it kind of silences those thoughts that I do have, and kind of provides comfort that God will take care of it in a way. So that kind of is a good thing, but still, I still have those worries about I can't be there all the time. And that comes with also teenager years, because, you know, she's so young, and I'm just thinking about the concept of dudes. I'll just say it. That's the elephant in the room,
that's what it is.
So yeah, this is the one thing though. I think that's why it's so scary for dads with daughters, is because you're men, and men know how men are, and men know how men think. And I'm not saying that you guys are those men, but you know men, right?
Yeah.
Or teenage boys, right? Yeah.
100%. And I want to say that most men are like that. And I'm not trying to like exaggerate. That's just the case. And Frank and I mean, we're friends. We grew up together, and at times we kind of joke around and like, we're dads now. Isn't that crazy? Of girls.
I mean, we went through everything: high school, 20s, 30s.
Right.
Going out to the clubs, we know.
And we want to think we were gentlemen at the time, but I mean, we have our flaws too. So now that we know that how guys are, it's a little tricky, and we're I'm a little worried about that. And that's the biggest thing.
So is it more like when she is a teenager and she starts dating, or it's like, is that the point?
Yes. And I mean, there's other things too.
Yeah.
As far as just being a female and being objectified.
Yeah.
And going through that situation. And like I said, I was going through that as in my teenage life. I was, sometimes you look at females. My mom raised me right, but at the same time, I had a father who else it was a typical man. So it's one of those things where you're conflicted. I shouldn't objectify you, but there are things like that attraction. And then I feel like now I'm in the other side where I'm the dad, and I'm afraid when Bella just is going through like any of her friends that are guy friends, they're going to really think something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not born yesterday. And it's one of those things where even if she goes to a party, I'm going to have to ask who's there. Are drinks involved? I know you're only 14. Hey, I wasn't born yesterday. We had parties like that.
Yeah.
And those games that you guys play, spin the bottle. I don't know. Maybe it's a different variation of what it is now.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, hey, don't try to play daddy. I know what's up. So that is one of the biggest concerns with that.
I think that's like, if not the major concern with being a dad, with having daughters, is that what you just already pointed out. I pointed out a couple of things as well. Like, I mean, I like to quote Chris Rock's famous stand-up comedy.
Oh, is it keep him off the pole? Yeah.
A dad's number one job is to keep your daughter off the pole. I mean, I'm not sure if that's the case nowadays, since like you gotta keep them off OnlyFans, right? It's like,
yeah.
digital,
but you know what? They make a lot of money.
They
that's
do.
So there's that conflict.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
We have the internet
they're getting
now.
their hustle on. It's women empowerment. They're comfortable with their sexuality type of thing. But at the same time, is that the new stripping, right? I don't know.
Kind of, right? If you think about it, it's like all online.
It's just a different platform.
Yeah. And I think it's
and
also...
they're not even in person. It's not even real. It's not like,
It's scary for you guys too, because like, imagine if you have your daughter on OnlyFans. Maybe she does it for a short time of period. She makes a lot of money.
No time.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying your daughters will, but like the reality is like in her future, right? If she had kids, or if she marries somebody and they find out, like, what does that do?
Because look at now, like your kids, like they're all screen sucking now.
Yes.
So it's only a matter of time they're gonna come across it.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have that when we were kids. We had TV, but it wasn't like the access they have on those tablets or whatever phones now.
Yeah.
It's scary.
And let's be honest, like, I actually have a couple friends that are strippers, and they're super professional. They go to college. That's what they do for money. They don't let men touch them. They don't sleep with them. But let's be honest, what dad is going to be proud of tons of men, horny men, throwing money at them for their bodies? That's that's what comes back to is objectifying women. But then the girls don't see it that way. They're like, I'm getting my money.
right? And at the same time, you're like, okay, she's like a businesswoman now, right?
Yeah.
She's empowering herself that way, and she knows how to like, play the field, play the game.
Exactly. At the same time, it's like if you tell females not to do that, or you tell them otherwise that they're going to be judged, it's one of those things where you don't want to play double standard.
Yeah.
Like, Lana, what would you do if your son's if Dylan wanted to go and be a stripper?
Gosh. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would probably have a heart attack.
What if he was like a subscriber to an OnlyFans account?
Here's the double standard, right?
Yeah, see,
Yes,
here's
exactly.
the
That's
double
what I mean.
standard. That's
what it is,
reality.
yeah.
That is reality. Okay, I have boys, and okay, if you have the subscription, like that's on you, whatever. Like, don't show me. Like, share it with your dad. But it is a double standard. But if I had a daughter, I would freak out, honestly.
Yeah.
And we're in a different generation, and it's one of those things where millennials or Generation Y might hear us and say, "Oh, here goes those boomers."
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say yes, we think different, but at the same time, just because we didn't have social media back then, don't get it twisted. We know what's up. We've done our crazy things too.
It's just not on. It wasn't filmed all the time or taking pictures of all the time. Like we probably did the same things that doing now. It's just not always on phone.
We probably got away with more things,
that's what I'm saying.
for sure,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but that's a scary
Sometimes
part.
it's like, okay, the less you knew, I guess, worked in our favor.
Yeah.
So any other fears? I'm sure there's a long list.
I mean, like protecting your daughters. Like I always think of the movie Taken. Like that's like
Oh
worst
yeah,
case, right?
that is.
Yeah. Just like being a man, like protecting your family, your girls, and that's like the worst scenario you could ever think of, like someone invading your home and like whatever,
Sex traffic.
Yeah.
exactly. Like that's like I don't even want to say it. Like I can't even fathom it. So that's like one of the worst fears too. Yeah.
But
You know?
even like, do you fear like just even going to the mall or something, like, you always have to have their hands, right? But do you ever fear like, oh my gosh, if I let go of their hand, like, it just takes a second for somebody just to snap them. And that was my fear as my kids were younger, even though they were boys. It's like, oh my gosh, you got to be careful.
There's no discrimination between that.
Yeah.
Boys and girls, because they're out there. Yeah.
They are.
I'm in a high level of alert all the time, and call it paranoia. But then when you have a daughter, everything is especially important and critical. So even I have my wife and my baby Bella understand, like, where will you be if it's just you two? Where will you be going?
Yeah.
I need to know that. It's best if you're with me. And it's one of those situations too where if I am putting her on the car seat, I have to make sure that no one's behind me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things because, I mean, especially with TikTok, they now share videos of these things that are happening. Of just snatching kids when you're not looking, like you said, quick 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so constantly I'm kind of thinking out in my head, what is the worst case scenario? And I have to be on high alert because as hard as you're working, watching your kid and protecting them, there's someone working twice as hard trying to snatch your kid.
Right.
And having that whole Taken and we wish we were like Liam Neeson and just kick butt.
Yeah,
and figure out where to go.
Let's face it, like 99% of those dudes are not like that.
Not like Liam Neeson.
Exactly. You don't got them particular skills, man.
I guess one of my questions is raising girls for both of you is independence. So many times women, especially like us grown back in the days, are taught to look to a man for security, safety, and protection. Do you want them to grow up being independent, not looking for a man or a partner for anything?
So
how do you guys deal with that?
Another note I put was like, I don't want to raise them like spoiled or entitled either, right? Like I don't want them to expect a man to take care of them. You can't helicopter them like their whole life, right?
Yeah.
Helicopter parent them. So eventually that's what you want to get them towards too, right? You could only guide them for so long until they make their own decisions and think on their own.
How about you, Jeremy?
I totally agree with Frank. I hope Bella is a little feminist.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope she stands up for what she believes in. And we gave her core values. I hope she's having her faith. At the same time, she could say what she wants. We have to kind of remind her that you might be looked differently or people might say the B word because you speak your mind. But take that as a good thing, right? And no, she doesn't need a man. I don't think, I want her daddy to be kind of her first love, kind of have that thing, that attachment.
The dad, we are their first love, you know?
Yeah, and only love, but I know she would have to find a partner, but I would want her to be resilient, independent, at the same time, financially sound. And if any man was to get or be with her, they need to kind of carry the weight and prove themselves. And I think that's important.
In what way? Like if she's making her own money, does he have to make more than her or no?
At least he's putting the effort in.
Right.
And kind of not using her, and at the same time has integrity and not do things like cheat on her. Cause that happens a lot of the times. There shouldn't be any hierarchy in a relationship. It should be that they should help each other. At the same time, like he knows how to raise a woman.
Because as dads, we have to set the example as the father figure, we're that person they see first as a male role model. Like, hey, my dad treats me like this. This guy that I'm interested in should treat me the same. Yeah. And I also tell my dad, I was like, hey, if you're gonna date, like I'm thinking already ahead, like when these are teenagers and they start dating, like the guy you're interested in, they gotta have some kind of talent or creativity. Like I just don't like this generation. I'm scared because they're always the screen sucking, and all they do is sit there and be lame. They're just sitting around doing nothing. Just do something. Like just don't be a guy that you stayed in your mom's house and you just up in your room in your phone, like
or gaming.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah. So like your guy has to have some qualities to him, not just like he's nice, I mean, a nice guy, it's fine.
Break it straight up.
So you have to be a football player. You have to be.
Just something
or bake cookies.
Because sometimes your mind is not. You're just focused on one thing. Like, oh, I have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And that's all you're focused on. It's lame. It's like you gotta have things outside where you build your character and when you grow experiences. Because some people don't. It's like even to this day, I'm trying to, it's all about self-development. You can't just stay where you are. You can't be the person you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Like you're always, I think as a human, you want to explore and just, even as you get older,
right.
Even though you said I've been there, done that, you're still a lot of things to experience.
Yeah. So when your daughter starts dating, so basically you want somebody like kind of on her level too, right? Or doing something like just not being a bum.
And at the same point, like I want my daughters to do stuff too. I don't want them to be like the screen suckers and not do anything either, right? Like
I don't think you'll raise them to be screen suckers like that.
Like one of my worst fears is like none of my girls are gonna take over my cookie business.
Aww. Maybe your wife will.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So my question is, Jeremy, I have a question for you and for you too, Frank. Would you want Bella to date someone just like you?
I would say the matured version of myself.
Not the high school version of yourself.
She should stay away from the high school version of myself, because I was kind of, I would say, a typical guy. And clearly this person needs to have substance.
There, that's the word, substance.
It has to be substance. And there's a criteria: education, family background, things like that. And if from even the book Fatherhood series 1 and 2, I emphasized on not only the relationship with Bella and I, but how I treat mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mom is going to be in the mix. Mm-hmm. And the way I treat mom, Bella is going to see that and observe that, and how,
especially at this age, like, we're not perfect parents, sometimes I'll slip and Jessica will call me out on it. Like, hey, you shouldn't be saying these things in front of her, our daughters. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's like, I got to work on that. And sometimes it just flies and you're just like, dude, I messed up. Like, so next time you should know, like, hey, you better watch your tongue, or, just be aware that your kids are still at that age, or they soak everything up. So you better.
and they do. And that actually helps and guides us. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, we were boys, but we needed women in our life to kind of make us better. Mm-hmm. And propel us. And sometimes it's our ego, like, no, this is not the way it should be. But then we actually follow what they say, and it's actually, oh, you're right. And so I hope Bella sees that the way I treat mommy, so that's kind of same treatment that she'll get from someone. So from answer your question, yes. From how I am, I kind of expect that potential mate that Bella has, that's interested to kind of be like me in that sense.
How about you, Frank?
I grew up with 3 sisters and no brothers. So I always felt like I had a little bit of the upper hand when it comes to women.
You know how women are. Yeah.
Because they're older too. Like my dad was kind of similar to your dad. Just out there. He had 3 girls and me, and he was out there messing around. So, I see myself like doing everything opposite my dad did. Yeah, just doing everything because he was like alcoholic, drugs, and eventually passed away. That all caught up to him. So I'm like, okay, whatever it is, I'm just not gonna do what he did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't say I don't want them to date someone just like me. Maybe similar qualities, like certain qualities that they liked about me. Because I mean, there's gonna be times they don't like daddy, the whole daddy. Like sometimes daddy's like mean or whatever. Like, okay, you don't like those qualities, then forget it. Just go for the good qualities that I have, and maybe find some guy or girl that has similar qualities that they like.
Do you think it would be less stressful for you if you guys had boys?
I don't know. I mean, I wanted a boy when we had our second one, but
or would
I
you
have
be
a girl.
or would you want to raise them to be gentlemen? Open the door, pay for
chivalry.
Yeah,
Chivalrous.
Because you would think that's how you would want your daughter to be treated as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would think it would be easier, but then again, I mean, boys go through the same struggles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially when we talk about the capacity of mental health and guys not expressing their emotion.
Feelings, yeah.
And that struggles with that. And how are we supposed to act then if we can't talk to anybody about our issues? So that might be different. I would say different issues dealing with a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
But you brought up an interesting thing, Frank, about our fathers.
Yeah.
And them, I would say, being challenged as well, as especially in the Filipino culture.
Right.
It's different. It's not the American culture. They have, whatever it is, alcoholism,
side women,
gambling, and those things.
Yeah.
And so I use that as, like you said, a guidance.
At least I know not what to do, right?
Right. Of what not to do.
Yeah.
And that's good because a lot of men who grow up with fathers that are like that do the same thing because that's all they know.
Right.
So do you guys steer away from it because you see what that has done to your parents' relationship?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, my dad also, like, he beat my mom too. So, I mean, my mom was like, she wasn't like, she had like mental problems too. So she wasn't like, and I admit when I was a boy too, I used to mistreat her too, but I didn't know any better, right? When I was a kid, I used to like, whatever, disrespect my mom in front of my friends or whatever. But I was a kid and, I was like, man, I was a bad little boy to my mom. But I was a mama's boy as well. But when I got older, like almost in my teen years, I was, pretty mean to my mom. But I just didn't know that she had like some mental issues with herself. But like I said, I had 3 sisters and they would, basically I was raised by them. My 2 older sisters, especially. So, and they were teenagers too. Like my parents weren't really, I won't say good parents. They weren't monitoring them. My sisters that teenagers, they had boyfriends, all the time too. And they would sneak out. I see all the, I would see all that when I was a kid too. Even, and their boyfriends I would meet their boyfriends and they would, treat me like a little brother. So I had all that experience when I was a kid, like my older sisters having boyfriends, but I would hang out with them.
Yeah.
Thinking back, like your high school days when you met their boyfriends, like how would you feel if your daughter started dating like those type of boys?
They always had good dudes, actually.
Okay, that's
around
good.
them. Yeah. My middle sister's ex-boyfriends, he actually taught me how to drive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he helped me get my first car. So they would find, quality dudes. Yeah, I think those guys were like kind of my male role models growing up since my dad was like not in the picture like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like thinking when they're still so fairly young, but when they get to high school, we tell them like, no, don't date in high school, right? But it's like,
that's what we say, but
we can't stop them, right?
Exactly. It's human nature.
Yeah.
It's like they're gonna be their own people.
Yeah.
You just gotta accept it. At this point, like this is like now that they say your parents that your kids are this age, like ages 5 and below, like that's just the perfect time to like love on them like the most, right?
Yes.
Because eventually they're gonna gradually just be their own person and like not be as affectionate and at the age that they are now, and that's the stuff that you're gonna miss the most. And I'm enjoying it now because Jessa's that small age and Franklin's still daddy's little girl too, and I love that.
I love that too. I don't want that to change. And we're like in the safe zone where it's all about cuddling time. And
like I'm always kissing up on my babies.
Kissing up. And that's why it's like, I have to hold them before they kind of have their own mind and they talk back and tell me, Daddy, you don't understand. And it hurts because I don't understand. Maybe I don't. And I thought I would know everything, but we got to prepare ourselves.
I already accept that. I'm not going to know everything. I'm not going to do like all the right things all the time. That's why you have your partner, your girl put you in check. Jessica definitely puts me in check. So just lay it out there like, hey, don't be saying that, or don't do this, don't do that. I'm like, okay.
Would you want to be the kind of dad that Bella is scared of when it comes to boys coming around, or would you want to be the kind of dad that is like, she'll tell you everything?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I would love her to tell me everything, and I would try my best to.
Dad, I kissed my first boy.
Oh,
that is tough.
everything.
That's tough. And I want to be that person and give her sound advice and want her to come to me. But at the same time, I kind of have to set the expectation.
You want to be that shotgun dad?
Not so much. I mean, it's see, that's a hard call. I kind of want to find a right balance, but what is the right balance? And I don't think I can really determine that until we actually get there.
Yeah.
And I think my wife and I are having those discussions. What would we do if this was to happen? And so a little bit about my wife. She comes from a family that has great values and they're very together and cohesive. My family is was figuring it out, but it's still I'll say the word dynamic family. And so it's one of those things where we kind of have to figure that out as parents when that time comes. But like, I would love to just have her come to me because I don't want her hiding anything from me.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest regret. Like, I should have been more open so she would come to me. And now she's doing this, the rebellious stage, right? That's what I'm worried about. And if you think your kid is not going through that, guess what? It's going to be an awakening.
Because you feel like when you're like when you're trying to get too involved, that's when they start like distancing themselves as well, right? So like, yeah, that's another fear. Like just like how your daughter is now, she opens up to you, she tells you everything. But that when it comes to that time when she doesn't, I'm scared of that too.
I think it's hard either having a boy or girl. Like you don't want to, overstep. Right. But at the same time, it's like you kind of want to be their friend, but really not. Like you have to be a parent too, right? So you just have to, I guess you have to wing it. There's no matter how many times or you're planning and all the talks you have, it's never going to go the way you want it to.
And you can't judge different parenting styles.
Yes.
It may work, it may not. And just because you like, let's say I decide to be this righteous person, it could just 180 and instead of thinking of a nun, stripper, right? I'm not saying that it's a bad
thing. How are you in
two extremes?
Charlene's like parenting styles, is it similar or are you guys on the same page or are you guys totally different?
We're almost in the same page. It's just that I think I'm more liberal.
Okay.
But in the same time, I'm learning from her, and I think I'm more now. Okay, you kind of are right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you ended up fine. I ended up better, but if I hadn't met you,
because I'm like the vocal mean dad. I'll yell too.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't see
mean.
that.
I'm mean. I could be mean. I mean, ask Jessica. She's opposite though, but that's her job. Like she actually works with kids, so she's really good at it.
Yeah.
I always tell her she's like the kid whisperer. Any kid, she'll calm them down.
Oh.
Yeah, even babies. Like when Ellie and Kara were babies, and she's their godmother. But when they were like crying, I remember when they were younger, like she would just carry them, and then boom, just instant calm down.
She's like a baby whisperer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Any kid.
Yeah.
Hey, Jessica, they're requesting you here.
Spill the beans on Frank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's spill the beans on me too, because like I said, I'm not perfect, but it's like a lifelong lesson when you parent.
But it sounds like a good balance too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when I mentioned in our first pod, I was like, our parenting styles are different, but it kind of works out because the kids see both things. I mean, sometimes they might get confused, but it's like they're gonna know that daddy is a certain way, mommy is a certain way, and nothing's particularly right or wrong. It's just that's how they do it, and that's how that other person does it.
And here's the thing: I don't know if it really relates to everyone, but it's almost like because usually the mom are the ones who does the dirty work.
Dirty work as far
as like bath, brush your teeth, and sometimes the dad kind of participates, but the dad is mostly
so no. Jessica does most of the bath.
That's exactly. And the dad comes along, right?
Yeah.
He comes to
and they're
let's read books, let's have fun, let's do the playground.
Yeah. It's like the uncle, the cool uncle.
Dads are always the fun ones.
Yeah, or the fun dad. And then sometimes I have to take a step back and like you become the fun mom and let me try to do those things, because I don't want it to be where also from a relationship as parent, as husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, baby daddy,
baby mama.
It's those things where I do these things and I'm the strict one, and then you come along and you're the fun one, and you got to kind of do the reversal.
Right.
So that it's kind of a good balance, because sometimes we don't know that. And the dad is like, what am I doing wrong? I thought I'm contributing. Well, you need to do some things
Daddy,
too.
you buy the groceries and cook food, you know?
Right.
Like Franklin always says, Daddy, you cook me good food, and we always make yummy cookies, and I'm the cookie person. I'm like, yeah. And like, I sell cookies to her school too, so now they know me as
cute.
And they know her. Even like all the other teachers, like the classes she's not even in, like the teachers from the other kindergarten classes, they say hi to her because I've given them cookies, and then the logo is on there, so they know her by first name.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Well, at the same topic, there's a fine line of being the best friend versus the person that's going to tell you you lay down the rule, being a sheriff. And I heard different relationships with their kids. I mean, some are, and like, again, I'm not judging, but like some smoke weed with their kids.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That works for you.
Older. Yeah.
Me, I will probably not do that. Again, it's one of those things. Not that I haven't not done that. It's just that welcoming my kids and, share me what's up, homie? Like, let's and kind of doing that kind of aspect and having those conversations while on smoking drugs and doing drugs and stuff like that. I think there's a fine line. I think that you need to kind of put your foot down. And I think I had a mentor who told me from a business perspective, are you likable or respectable? There's a difference. Jeremy, you're likable. But as far as respect, people are taking advantage of you because you're likable, and they won't listen to any substance or anything that you've been saying from a serious standpoint. I gotta think like that as a dad. I could be like, well, yeah, I want them to like me and say daddy's fun. But now they're going to be in a case where they're running around you and they're basing it on, I thought it would be cool with you, dad. Well, no, this is now me. I care about you. I'm watching what you do and how you do things and how you move. And you got to show integrity. And I don't want you to think otherwise, but I'm doing this for your own sake. So I think that is a good thing just to put out there.
Okay. So my one last question for the both of you is, if Bella is listening to this at 18, what would you tell her? What is your advice to her?
I'm just going to say, and keep it simple, and say, I love you. No matter where you are or the things that, if we're doing good, we're good. If there are things that I've done that you don't understand, or if I had anything in terms of any drawback, or if I wasn't up to par as the daddy I would be, or even if you love me, I just want to keep reminding you I love you no matter what. And that's an unconditional love. I just want you to know that. So I'm just going to keep it that.
I second what Jeremy said, and on top of that, I just want to say that whatever she does in life, like, I'll always be proud of her.
That's great.
That's so sweet. Well, thank you for listening, and thank you, Jeremy, for coming on. And Frank, thank you. And Lana, thank you for co-hosting with me.